Hello, party people. We're back. We're reading Emma. I'm gonna put this crazy hair back. I got these little flyaways that just tickle, 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 tickle all day long. Makes me want to shave my head bald. Makes me want to take the razors out and shave my head bald. I'd love to shave it right off. Golly, yesterday I plowed through volume 2, the rest of volume 2, and we're on volume 3 of Emma. Wow. Recap quickly. Emma Woodhouse is I'll never get the quote right. Proud, rich. Emma Woodhouse, handsome, clever, and rich, with a comfortable home and happy disposition, seemed to unite some of the best blessings of existence, and had lived nearly 21 years in the world, with very little distress or vex her. And this book is just her being distressed and vexed by the town. At first, she tried to get her friend Harriet Smith to marry Mr. Elton. Turns out Mr. Elton was in love with Emma the whole time and did want to marry Emma. He went away and he just married a woman named Augusta. So now she's Mrs. Elton and Emma doesn't like her, but she is a little conceited, and she also really is reminiscing a lot about her old home, Maple Grove. Secondly, her governess, Miss Taylor, just got married to Mr. Weston. So Mr. and Mrs. Weston. Mrs. Weston has a stepson via Mr. Weston named Frank Churchill, who was adopted by his uncle. So Frank Churchill is Mr. Weston's son, but his name is Frank Churchill. And he's coming. He came, then he left, and now he's coming back. We also have a Miss and Mrs. Bates in town. And Miss Bates is just a character, and her niece is named Jane Fairfax, and Jane Fairfax plays the pianoforte very well. But Emma is sort of the princess of this town, so she does not want to be upstood by this Fairfax, who she's known her whole life, but has never really made friends with her. And now Miss Elton is like, she has no friends, I'm going to be friends with her. And Emma's like, oh, I guess I have been ignoring her whole life because she's competition, you know? We're gonna read this book via the lens of, is she ever right? And are there clues as to what's really going on? Because she seems to have it all together, but does she really? Does she really know these people? Are her opinions of people really honest and true? We get to see her through the lens of these conversations that happen. It really is like a pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, peep, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more, that kind of a thing of the town. But Jane Austen just makes it so juicy and ripe, and it's been so fun. It is just pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, beep, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more, that kind of a thing. But done in such a good way. So today, we are reading Volume 3, Chapter 1, Volume 3 of Emma. Look at this. It's just so crazy. My hairdresser was like, I think you need to see a dermatologist because there's so much breakage. I think there's something going on with your thyroid, my hairdresser said. Chapter 1 of Volume 3. Okay, hold on just 1 second. I'm going to be looking up words, but I kind of want to look up, like, what's the deal with volumes? Why do writers have volumes? Is that a dumb question? Jane Austen. Is that a dumb question? I just don't know. Novels were often published in multiple volumes, typically 3, known as the three-decker novel. This practice stemmed from economics and technology of the era. Printing and binding books were expensive. Oh. 3 volumes allowed libraries to rent each volume separately, maximizing their income from a single novel. Oh. Dividing the novel into parts created anticipation. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because at the end of the first novel, end of the first volume, it was like, Frank Churchill's coming. Because he's got an aunt and uncle that he lives with, and they are like, she gets sick all the time, and she can't be bothered to be away from him. And now he asked to be there in Hartfield a little longer, where all this action is taking place. And the aunt was like, "You can't. You have to come back. I'm sick." But now he's coming back at the end of volume 2. He's coming back again. Publishing commission. Okay. Here's an article called "Why Jane Austen's Novel Matters." Why her novels matter. I'm going to read that today. It's by Jane Austen's House. Professor Kathryn Sutherland on why Jane Austen was a pioneer in fiction, breaking new ground in the subject and style. Ooh. Her heroines have inner lives. Fun. Okay, Oxford, pumping out good articles I will read. Chapter 1, Volume 3. A very little quiet reflection was enough to satisfy Emma as to the nature of her agitation on hearing this news of Frank Churchill. She was soon convinced that it was not for herself she was feeling at all apprehensive or embarrassed. It was for him. Yeah, everybody thought that Mr. Knightley was in love with Jane Fairfax, and that's not true. And then she really thinks that she might be in love with Frank Churchill, but she's vowed never to marry. And she believes Frank Churchill's in love with her. But now she just doesn't know. Her own attachment had really subsided into a mere nothing. It was not worth thinking of, but if he, who had undoubtedly been always so much the most in love of the two, were to be returning with the same warmth of sentiment which he had taken away, it would be very distressing. If a separation of 2 months should not have cooled him, there were dangers and evils before her. Caution for him and for herself would be necessary. She did not mean to have her own affections entangled again, and it would be incumbent on her to avoid any encouragement of his. She wished she might be able to keep him from an absolute declaration. That would be so very painful, a conclusion of their present acquaintance. And yet she could not help rather anticipating something decisive. She felt as if the spring would not pass without bringing a crisis, an event, a something to alter her present composed and tranquil state. It was not very long, though rather longer than Mr. Weston had foreseen, before she had the power of forming some opinion of Frank Churchill's feelings. The Enscombe family were not in town quite so soon as had been imagined, but he was at Highbury very soon afterwards. He rode down for a couple of hours. He could not yet do more, but as he came from Randalls immediately to Hartfield, she could then exercise all her quick observation and speedily determine how he was influenced, and how she must act. They met with the utmost friendliness. There could be no doubt of his great pleasure in seeing her, but she had an almost instant doubt of his caring for her as he had done, of his feelings the same tenderness in the same degree. She watched him well. It was a clear thing he was less in love than he had been. Absence, with the conviction probably in her indifference, had produced this very natural and very desirable effect. He was in high spirits, as ready to talk and laugh as ever, and seemed delighted to speak of his former visit and recur to old stories, and he was not without agitation. It was not in his calmness that she read his comparative indifference. He was not calm. His spirits were evidently fluttered. There was restlessness about him. Lively as he was, it seemed a liveliness that did not satisfy himself. But what decided her belief on the subject was his staying only a quarter of an hour and hurrying away to make other calls in Highbury. He had seen a group of old acquaintance in the street as he passed. He had not stopped. He would not stop for more than a word, but he had the vanity to think they would be disappointed if he did not call, and much as he wished to stay longer at Hartfield, he must hurry off. She had no doubt as to his being less in love, but neither his agitated spirits nor his hurrying away seemed like a perfect cure, and she was rather inclined to think it implied a dread of her returning power and a discreet resolution of not trusting himself with her long. Really. This was the only visit from Frank Churchill in the course of 10 days. He was often intending to come, but was always prevented. Fascinating. His aunt could not bear to have him leave her. Such was his own account at Randall's. If he were quite sincere, if he really tried to come, it was to be interfered. That Mrs. Churchill's removal to London had been of no service to the wilful or nervous part of her disorder. She was really ill. She was really ill was very certain. He had declared himself convinced of it at Randall's. Though much might be fancy, he could not doubt, when he looked back, that she was in a weaker state of health than she had been half a year ago. He did not believe it to proceed from anything that care and medicine might not remove, or at least that she might not have many years of existence before her. But he could not be prevailed on by all his father's doubts to say that her complaints were merely imaginary, or that she was as strong as ever. It soon appeared that London was not the place for her. She could not endure its noise. Her nerves were under continual irritation and suffering, and by the 10 days' end her nephew's letters to Randall's communicated a change of plan. They were going to remove immediately to Richmond. Mrs. Churchill had been recommended to medical skill of an eminent person there, and had otherwise a fancy for place. A ready-furnished house in a favourite spot was engaged, and much benefit expected from the change. I wonder if Richmond is back here in the maps. Do you think Richmond is back here in the maps? Bristol, Bath, Winchester, Charlton, Surrey. Are these real places? Richmond. And where are they? City of London. Well, there's Richmond up there. Way up there near Middlesex. But Surrey, but I don't really know where. Dorking. Wow, okay, I see. Area of detail. I see. Northern Surrey in Austen's time. I'm going to get distracted by this map. Where was I? He'd seen a group of all-carried radio-furnished houses of Abraham. Emma heard that Frank wrote in the highest spirits of this arrangement, and seemed most fully to appreciate the blessing of having 2 months before him of such a near neighbourhood to many dear friends, for the house was taken for May and June. She was told that now he wrote with the greatest confidence of being often with them, almost as often as he could even wish. Emma saw how Mr. Weston understood these joyous prospects. He was considering her as the source of all the happiness they offered. She hoped it was not so. 2 months must bring it to the proof. Mr. Weston's own happiness was indisputable. He was quite delighted. It was the very circumstance he could have wished for. Now it would be really having Frank in their neighbourhood. What were 9 miles to a young man? An hour's horse ride? Nope, an hour's ride. He would be always coming over. The difference in that respect of Richmond and London was enough to make the whole difference of seeing him always and seeing him never. 16 miles, nay, 18. It must be full 18 to Manchester Street. It was a serious obstacle. Were he ever able to get away, the day would be spent in coming and returning. There was no comfort in having him in London. He might as well be in Edscombe. But Richmond was the very distance for easy intercourse. Better than nearer. One good thing was immediately brought to a certainty by this removal. The ball at the Crown. The ball that never happened at the Crown. Because he had to go. He had to leave, and the ball never happened. And everybody was sad, and it was sad. It had not been forgotten before, but it had not been soon acknowledged vain to attempt to fix a day. Now, however, it was absolutely to be. Every preparation was resumed, and very soon after the Churchills had removed to Richmond a few lines from Frank to say that his aunt felt already much better for the change, and that he had no doubt of being able to join them for 24 hours at any given time, and induce them to name as early a day as possible. Mr. Weston's ball was to be a real thing. A very few tomorrows stood between the young people of Highbury and happiness. Mr. Woodhouse was resigned. The time of year lightened the evil to him. May was better for everything than February. Mrs. Bates was engaged to spend the evening at Hartfield. James had due notice, and he sanguinely hoped that neither dear little Henry nor dear little John would have anything the matter with them while dear Emma were gone. Dear little Henry nor dear little John would have anything the matter with them while Emma were gone. That's fun. Oh, the next chapter is quite long, and I'm certain it's probably about the ball. We'll have to do it next time. I'll post this video and immediately start reading the next one, so we don't have to wait for me to figure out another time to read so that I can read more. Wow, the next chapter is big, about a ball, probably. No misfortune occurred again to prevent the ball. I'm going to read this article, too. That sounded interesting. I mean, obviously Jane Austen's novels matter, but let me hear it from an Oxford professor and then I'll believe it. Just kidding. Happy reading, everybody. God, I've been reading some interesting things. Reading is so awesome. Even just like Sarah J. Maas books that are like talking about healers, which is what I feel like I do as a massage therapist, healing people and like what that means. And she talks about a spinal cord injury, and it's just so fascinating. And this Bird by Bird book is so good about writing. And I've just been trying to write every day. And I think I have, and I haven't even been dating it. I don't even want to like hear the receipts. I've just been feeling like writing every day. And I'm also going to get George Orwell's book about writing called Why I Write or something like that. I can't remember. So I'm going to get that too. Girl, I think we're writing. I think we're going to be writing. Happy reading, happy writing, and ta-ta.